Today's video dedication is brought to you with thanks from Dan Kirch. Up against Zacama, Primal Calamity now. Can we outrace a Zacama? We're perfectly capable, but not with that hand, I don't think. We'll take the free mulligan. That is way better. We've got some dorks there. So Vala is one that I added to the list. I think I need to swap this out for something else because we don't often have the biggest creatures because we're wanting to go wide. Llanowar Elves is probably the best one drop we can make. Yeah, it's just the Freyalise here, I think. We can make 2 mana with that. They've already got Field of the Dead, which goes in pretty much any multicolour deck in this format, especially the green ones. Drop a land. If we go for the Freyalise here, I think that'll be okay. We can start ticking it up. Tap that down for a couple of green. And then untap it, perpetually give this +1/+1 and a creature in our hand, which is the Incubation Druid. Tap down again. And obviously that gets more power, so it taps for more mana. So then we can go Incubation and the Woodland Mystic. Alright, and our opponent scoops because we have already outraced them. The plan there was to probably go Evolution Sage, drop a land, populate another counter onto this, minus it down and draw a bunch of cards. And then maybe we could have gone Rishkar's Expertise, I'm not entirely sure, we could have afforded that, but yeah, we'll play another one. Up against Winota, Joiner of Forces, probably one of the most difficult decks to play against in the format. And yeah, we're probably already going to lose this one. We'll keep that because we've got Ramp, which is pretty much our only means of doing anything against Winota. Even an Ugin won't stop Winota most of the time. And they do have a turn 1 play in Goblin Prospector, or Skirk Prospector, unfortunately. We go like that, and then we can get down the Narnum Renegade. So it's likely Freyalise next turn. Obviously we'll see what we draw into. Hopefully they don't have another 1-drop, but they do. I wonder if this is a Goblin deck, or if they're just lucky drawing into Goblins. Yeah, we're just flooding out once again. I want to try and get myself up to the limit break here, so yeah, I think we just have to put some power on this thing. Worst case scenario, we just drop Elven Ambush next turn. This is an instant, so we can do it during our opponent's turn, but we will see Winota here, which will likely slam them into some big creatures that we have to chump with. Okay, going Blade Historian first. There's Elvish Archdruid. So we can go like that, untap with the Freyalise. That will perpetually give this +1/+1 and our Elvish Archdruid. And then we can still go for the ambush. Yeah, and then we've got the limit break on Freyalise to hopefully refill our hand next turn. Still not hopeful that we're winning this one, but I mean, this is about as good as we could ever hope to do. It's just that Winota is so incredibly strong. So there is the commander. Turning sideways, I think this is a human, yes, so it only triggers twice. We'll let them declare blockers before we go for the Elven Ambush, because it might dictate which way they swing. At the moment, they are just swinging in at us. Do they have to attack us? No, it's just whenever it attacks, so they're not concerned with our Planeswalker at the moment, apparently. So there is Ranger Captain of Eos, gets them another 1-drop, of which they'll have plenty in the deck, I imagine. Grab themselves a Tin Street Dodger, so it does look like they've got a lot of... Maybe they're just playing hasty 1-drops, maybe that's the idea. Not necessarily a Goblin deck. And then the Blade Splicer is another new one from Jumpstart Modern Horizons, or Historic Horizons. So that comes in with a 3/3. Yeah, and it's all coming in at us, so we can go like that. Do we just want to block with... No, we can make some decent blocks here, actually, seeing as how they're not going in at the Freyalise. So let's go like that. Get rid of some of these tokens. And we can actually get rid of the Double Striker quite nicely as well. And then before we lose any creatures, go like that. And all these creatures do have double strike, but we'll keep the vast majority of them. So getting rid of that thing is really, really good. Keeping us from casting a non-creature spell. I mean, we're a creature-based deck, so we don't necessarily care about that. Let's draw with the Freyalise first. That will make Regal Force, which will draw us a bunch of cards because we control a bunch of green spells. Yeah, we can go Masked Vandal here, maybe. I don't mind the Rishkar's Expertise, although we can't cast that, can we? Yeah, I'll certainly go Masked Vandal. Get rid of this thing. Alright, and actually beating Winota, and that is one of the only times that I've ever done that. Yeah, I think we just pretty much overrun them next turn, don't we? Can probably go Rishkar's Expertise. And if the board state stays the way it does now, we would draw 5 cards. That would hopefully get us into an overrun effect. Maybe play Toski this turn. I don't know, we might have lethal on them there already. That is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16. Not quite. We don't have another Lord, so didn't quite have them, but well, our opponent seems to think that we do next turn. Well, the Allosaurus Shepherd is always a good turn 1 play against the blue decks, up against a Mardu deck though in Extus or Overlord. And once again, we don't have any ramp. We always want ramp, and we're likely to get into it off a mulligan, although we do not there. Might get into one with the Skyshroud Lookout though, Seek an Elf with that. And Seek, for anyone who doesn't know, is put 1 random card from your library into your hand. And it's an elf card in this instance. Seek is exclusive to MTG Arena with the new Jumpstart Historic Horizons. So we'll see if we can get into a dork here. Well, we can, but we're going to need another mana in order to make use of it. Not entirely against getting out the Dwinin. Or Dwinin's Elite even. Because it will make this tap for more mana. They can look through our hand though. Let's give them the Evolution Sage. It's not doing anything yet. Okay, Masked Vandal. Go for the Dwinin's Elite because we cannot draw into any lands. Our opponent missing white mana at the moment. And there's a Dusk Legion Zealot trying to get themselves into the white mana, I imagine. We'll draw them a card, lose them a life. We do get into a land, but it is a tap land, annoyingly. Don't have anything to blow up with the Masked Vandal, so we'll just have to play this in tapped. Don't mind the double block here to get rid of the acquisitions expert. And then just deciding to let it through. Probably worried about a buff there. But the Dwinnen's Elite being in the bin will give us something to do with the Masked Vandal, assuming that they play an artifact or enchantment. Bolting themselves with the Bolt Land. Still missing their colours. But there is a Rekindling Phoenix, which puts us on quite a clock. We do have a Reacher at least. Okay, and there's another land for us, so I think we still have to go for the Elvish Archdruid and try and catch up. And we'll offer up the trade for that bird, even though they're not going to take it. Okay, they do take it. Alright, and just deciding to get it straight back into play. Cruel Celebrant. And that is one that triggers on death. Yeah, whenever another creature or planeswalker you control dies, each opponent loses a life, you gain a life. Field of Ruin gets rid of, yeah, the Hydra land. That is just if we're desperate, not really worried about that going down at all. And they get to fix their colours here as well, because Field will let you search for a Plains, or they already had a Plains, so I went for a Swamp there. Swinging in with the Phoenix, don't really mind. Okay, the Great Henge. So maybe going Freyalise would be a good idea.
Nature isn't some fragile leaf. It's the might of oaks older than civilization.
And then we can go for the Beast Whisperer. Perpetually give this a buff, so the Phoenix is going to find it more difficult to swing in. And we will pass at that, I think. Could have untapped the Elvish Archdruid, of course, and played some more spells there, but I just want to stop this swinging in at Freyalise if I can. Either that, or it gets removal on a lesser creature, other than Elvish Archdruid or the Beast Whisperer. If our board state stays intact here, we've got a pretty explosive next turn, I hope. Do decide to swing in at our Planeswalker. And this is the, at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice this creature. That is the feather token that it leaves behind. And it will come straight back into play, so yeah, we'll just block that and force them to do that. Okay, going for Cast Out, getting rid of the Beast Whisperer. We get rid of the Phoenix for now. And we would need to fight this. We've got the Masked Vandal, so we play that here, I think. Get rid of the Cast Out. And we can get rid of Evolution Sage, I don't think it really matters. So that can be 4 mana. We can go for the Elven Ambush. Untap with Elvish Archdruid. Go for the Great Henge, I think. And then I don't think there's much point in Field of Ruin. They might have... yeah, they might have Field of the Dead in this deck, especially in a 3-colour deck, so we'll just have to leave it there, I think, and likely... yeah, we can't get rid of this, unfortunately, so we're likely going to have damage dealt to Freyalise. But if damage is dealt to her, then we can get an elf with the Seek. So they do kill off the elemental. It's not a feather token, it's an elemental. So that will go Cruel Celebrant. If they do damage this, which they're likely to, we can seek an elf next turn and trigger the Great Henge at least. Now looking at the Elvish Archdruid, so they might have removal for that. Yep, there's Ravenous Chupacabra. Okay, but blowing up the Beast Whisperer. Hitting Freyalise as we thought they were going to.
You'll pay for your treachery.
That was a pretty painless turn, I think. We could do with not drawing into more lands, though. Let's seek an elf. Okay, there is the Circle of Dreams Druid. Drop a land. And we might get into a Lord, so I'll go like that. It'll get a plus counter and draw as a card. Turn Timber Symbiosis I might go for. See if I can squeak through a little bit of damage here. In fact, we'll go in with everything. We're going to lose our commander anyway. Getting rid of some of their creatures here is really good. And they're letting the 3 damage through, so we'll go like that. Onto Mass Vandal, draw 3 cards here. The Cruel Celebrant sees a couple of creatures die, so that will trigger. Wow, just a bunch of mana there, so I think we can afford that. We'll go like that. And Champion of Lamhult is good. I think Imperious Perfect might be the way to go, because we can't necessarily trigger the Champion of Lamhult all that much. Are we just going wide on them anyway? Let's go Imperious Perfect. And we do draw into the Pelt Collector, so we can go like that. Which draws us into Bloodline Pretender, and we are getting plus counters on everything. There is a plus counter theme in this deck, because there's a 4-mana elf that draws per plus counter, or creature with a plus counter on it that you control. So yet another means of refilling our hand, hopefully. They look like they're pretty much in board wipe territory here. They can concentrate on the Freyalise if they want to. Freyalise is really distracted from this thing hitting us. We would have been dealt a lot of damage by this if it wasn't for our commander. Whatever line of play they've got, it isn't obvious because they're taking their time. That is Nightmare Shepherd, decent block, but we just top deck into that. Let's see what elf we were going to draw into.
Gaia will have her vengeance.
We were getting into Marwyn, that's really good. Don't even have to tap down the Elvish Archdruid. Draw into yet another land. Just turn everything in sideways here. And very graciously they decide to take it. That is often what we end up doing in this deck. Minus 107 from our opponent. Yeah, pretty typical in elf fashion, going for the Crate Hoof win. Let's try another one. Another tribal commander here up against another one that has come out with Jumpstart Historic Horizons, the First Sliver. I don't think slivers are quite there, but they can be explosive. They just don't quite have enough slivers yet, I don't think, but they'll only get better. We will keep that because we've got the Incubation Druid. I'll get down the tap land to start things off. Faceless Agent is another one that goes in the tribal decks because it will seek and we can grab an elf into our hand. It pretty much cantrips. Get down the Incubation Druid, drew into the fight card. Also goes with the plus counter sub theme that I mentioned previously. My opponent got down a Moxamber but doesn't have any kind of legendary permanent at the moment. So why don't we just go and start ticking up Freyalise.
I commend your bravery, mortal, but I will win this fight.
And we can go for the Jaspara's Sentinel, untap the Jaspara's Sentinel, buff the Incubation Druid, and buffed this as well. So in a couple of turns we're looking at Freyalise getting the limit break there. Going right a bit Lamok. That will hopefully get them into a Sliver. Nowhere near flipping that around though. They need 4 or more creatures in order to turn that into a Gaia's Cradle. I'm assuming they've got multiple creatures that they can reveal here and deciding which one it is. Deciding on the one that gives Exalted. We'll go for the Faceless Agent. That will cantrip, like we said. Gets us into a Sculptor of Winter. Yeah, we can still fight if we go for that. Because we will untap... yes, it will have to be the Incubation Druid. Yeah, we can still fight with the Inscription of Abundance and hold up the Hexproof. We might want to Death Touch something out of the way. Might just be the First Sliver. So we can swing in with the 2-3. And we'll see what they've got for us here. Only 4 mana available to them if they drop a land. And they do. It is a tap land, so I might be able to scry one on top. We are refilling our hand though. It is a Regal Force which triggers on green creatures, so it will only be 5 including itself. This obviously isn't green. Manalith continues to help fix their colours, so we're likely seeing the Cascade Sliver next turn. Not too bothered about Bloodline Pretender before the Regal Force, so we'll take that down.
No defeat lasts forever.
Get a big dumb Regal Force into play. Refill our hand a bunch. And yeah, Beast Whisperer is good here, I think. Drop Faceless Haven. Yeah, and I think that might have to be it here. We've got 1 and 2 mana there. And then a couple of mana. Yeah, so we can still go for this, can't we? Draw into the Elvish Archdruid. Put a plus counter there, just to give it a bit more toughness. As well as power, of course, because we are going to swing in here, hold up our mana dorks, because we might want to fight with the Death Toucher, like I said. But yeah, looking pretty good here. Our opponent could always wipe the board, of course. Not sure how many board wipes they will run in a creature-based deck, though. See what they cascade into here. Cascaded into something and decided not to cast it, curiously. Not sure what that was. And then the Predatory Sliver is going to go into a 1 mana Sliver. There is the First Strike Sliver. Instead it is Brainstorm. Yeah, so didn't have the best of luck there. They were going to lose their commander anyway, because we were going to Death Touch it out of the way. Let's try and end on a more satisfying game than that. Up against another scary one here, that is the Scarab God. Yeah, I'm just hoping that they're not going to ramp very quickly. We could go Crashing Drawbridge and then this can tap for mana straight away. I'm not sure it's good enough though. Let's just take the free mulligan on that. Allosaurus Shepherd could be really good. We'll need to draw into another land though, which we're likely not going to. We've been struggling on lands for a lot of games. Yeah, these hands are not good. We're just not going to do well this game, I don't think. We'll have to drop the Heroic Intervention. Need some really, really good top decks in this game. And the Great Henge is not a good top deck. Our opponent holding up blue mana. And deciding to blow up our Death Toucher. So we'll take the opportunity to go for Freyalise. They do not have a means of countering that,
I see you wish to join the vanquished,
which means they don't have Spell Pierce.
Nature is our greatest strength.
Okay, Undead Augur. So I'm not sure if it's zombie tribal or if this is just because they reanimate things as zombies. Crashing Drawbridge is a decent blocker at the very least. But this is going to be a 4-4, so we'll throw that down. And we'll bolt ourselves with the Turn Timber as well. Just a case of hoping that we actually get into another elf next turn. Don't have any green creatures for the Freyalise even. Might have to just start seeking instead. Although we could buff this even further and make the Great Henge cheaper. But they get down the Scarab God, 4 cards left in hand. Finally get into an elf. So we can go like that.
Underestimate our strength.
And that will come down with a plus counter on it. It is perpetually at +1/+1 thanks to the uptick on the Freyalise. And it will only tap for 1 mana even if we give it haste. So yeah, we've got a Bloodline Pretender at 6/6 thankfully, so might be able to get back into it. I'm not hopeful though. They control a zombie, so they'll shoot us for 1 with the Scarab God, scrying something to the top. Don't think they have any creatures. No, they've just got the Feed the Swarm in the bin. Price of Fame. Destroys that. Yeah, we'll just have to allow it. Followed by a Brainstorm, leaving 1 mana held up. And then swinging in will force us to block with the Crashing Drawbridge, which is a shame because we might get into another Dork. Okay, the Sylvan Ranger, we'll just see what we draw. Search for a basic for the turn. Incubation Druid will tap for a bunch of mana, but not this turn thanks to the Crashing Drawbridge going down. It is refusing to tap down our colourless mana. Okay, there is a Jesper Sentinel as well. So we're doing well off the Great Henge here. Might get us back into it. Go for the Elven Ambush and then... Alright, and yeah, our opponent's scooping there because they see the incoming limit break. We can get the Regal Force into play. We will draw 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 cards. And we'll even be able to hold up the Snakeskin Veil against our opponent. So, pretty good comeback, I think. So yeah, I think it performed pretty well there. For some reason, we can run low on elves. We've got 42 creatures in the deck, 32 of which are elves. But yeah, Magic the Gathering is a game of chance to a certain extent. So I wasn't sure if I was going to keep Freyalise as the commander. I do really like the Regal Force that it comes down with and refills your hand though. Like I said before, Marwyn the Nurturer was the commander of this deck. And what you have to do, if you run her as the commander, you need to be preferably running her out and then being able to hold up something like Snakeskin Veil. We've got Ranger's Guile. There's another one, I think. Yeah, Blossoming Defense. Obviously, there's Heroic Intervention as well, which is more for protecting us against rats, but it can give hexproof as well. And then we've also got Protection in Mirror Shield. So obviously any of that can go on any of our creatures, but it's particularly important if you run Marwyn the Nurturer as your commander. Don't just run her out on turn 3 without protection because she will get shot straight away. But it's not necessarily something you have to worry about with Freyalise, plus you can be slowly ticking up and perpetually buffing things in order to get yourself up to that Regal Force. Also wasn't sure against Selvala, Heart of the Wilds. Certainly wasn't sure of her whilst the Marwyn was the commander, but with her being able to get buffed by the Freyalise, she will just add a bunch more mana. She's another 3 mana dork that will add a bunch of mana, so potentially giving your opponent's card draw. I'm still not sold on her, but whilst Freyalise is the commander, I think I will keep Selvala in the deck. So that is it. Be sure to let me know what you all think of this Skyshroud Partisan Freyalise deck. If you want to see more of it, then you'll have to leave a comment and a like on the video. Be sure to share it with your friends to help with YouTube's algorithms as well. I'm tribalkai on the eedi-H channel. Thank you for watching.